So learn how
Okay.
to take care of yourself as well as everybody else
Right.
and have that time not only for others, but have that time for yourself so that once you're able to rejuvenate and regenerate, once you're able to spend that time getting ready and just refreshing yourself,
Right.
you can be far more effective in how you approach your family, your
Hmm.
job, and all those things that you're responsible for taking care of.
Welcome to Dad Puzzles, Everything Dad. If you're questioning yourself about dad functions, duties, and life in general, you've come to the right place. Parenthood can be tough. Learning to juggle caring for your baby with your career and also keeping things fresh with your partner can be a struggle. But we're here to make things easier with helpful tips for making the most of your situation. Being a dad may seem like a puzzle, but it's one you can definitely solve. Now here's your host, Dr. Suleiman Ijani.
Welcome to Dad Puzzles podcast. It's been since October of 2022 as our last episode, and this is 2023. I had some sickness in the family, and finally we took a little break. But now here we are, and very fortunate to have my good friend and my mentor, Dr. Ronald Rembert Jr. I'd like to talk a little bit about yourself. You're a family physician with experience treating the underserved with acute and chronic illnesses. He has been an assistant clinical professor in the Department of Family Medicine and was co-chair of the Community Advisory Review Council, reviewing community medicine research projects at the University of Chicago, and an instructor to medical students at Rush Medical Center. He currently works as a consultant to healthcare organizations around the country. He has been a trustee with the American Association of Public Health Physicians and is currently on the board of the Family Health Foundations of Illinois. Dr. Rembert received his medical degree from the Chicago Medical School at Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science in Chicago. He completed residency at Rush Medical Center and at Advocate Illinois Masonic, and served as chief resident during his last year of residency. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Rembert. Please welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Dr. Johnny.
Yes, sir. Dr. Rembert, thank you for agreeing to come to the podcast. This is a tremendous opportunity for myself and us as fathers and the community as a whole, because there's so much things that we take for granted, but it's good to get to share those wisdoms to people so that they can become better fathers. The people that don't have, let's say, they don't have fathers, or they don't have somebody that they have grown up seeing how to become a better dad. So we are really fortunate to have you, please. And so maybe just to start, what do you think about this idea about fatherhood and chatting about fatherhood? What do you think about this?
Fatherhood is one of the greatest responsibilities that
Yes.
you can ever have,
Right?
but it also can be one of the most rewarding things you will ever experience. Once you become a father, your life changes. From the time that child is born until basically, depending on the type of relationship that you have, even once they become adults and have children of their own, you will still continue to be a father and still be someone, if you have that relationship, that they look up to and respect. But it's developing that and understanding that over time, you want to continue to grow that relationship and to be there for them.
Right. Oh, awesome. It's quite interesting because I also see, hear about, how some people, they do not know that you can still be a father to somebody else, like, as a father figure, so it's good to always kind of be on our best to people in the community and, like not only our families, because some people that do not have that opportunity, they can still regard you as a father, based on, what you did to them.
Awesome. Yes, you can. You
Yes,
don't
sir.
necessarily have to be a biological father to be a
Right.
father to someone.
Right.
And You look at, various examples. I look at the relationship that Shaquille O'Neal had with his adoptive father that became his father once he and his mother were married.
Right.
And he not only raised Shaquille O'Neal as his own son, but trained him and worked with him and instilled in him the discipline and the confidence that he needed to not only become an NBA superstar, but
Right.
even an ambassador for all the different organizations that he's a part of as of this day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. So you see, this is good because I think I've met some people during my lifetime that they have no opportunity of becoming fathers. So I think this will be good inspiration for them to just still to see that, okay, we have an opportunity to still make a difference, like in the community to other kids, not necessarily our own kids. So that's awesome. And then also there was a topic that you wanted to share with us today about the balance, whether it's work life, family, with work, or just our own selves, like our own personal time. How can people learn about this subject? Because it's a very critical topic, because a lot of times people have burnout. They end up being not productive at work because they're tilting more towards their family or self. So we would like to learn that from you, sir.
Awesome. Well, that is something I definitely had to learn. And just being a physician, a lot of times that work-life balance is skewed because of the expectations. During residency training, you may work up to 100 hours or more a week, and I know that they've changed the laws to limit it to 80 hours a week.
Right.
But many times, many residents still continue to work more than that. And even after you finish residency, depending on what your specialty and background is and what the expectations of the particular job that you have, you can be working 80 to 100 hours a week on call, in and out of the hospital and clinics and doing various things. So it's imperative to understand how to balance that, especially once you have a family.
Right.
Me, I had to learn how to take time not only for myself to really recuperate and to refresh myself. Because if you, like you mentioned, burnout, if you burn out, how are you going to be effective in doing what you do?
Right.
But then once you have a family, once you have children, once you have a significant other, then that really changes that entire dynamic, because now you have to take them into consideration as well.
Right.
Can you be around for them, and will you be around for them for games or for different social events? Will you be there to celebrate holidays and special occasions with them? And that's something you have to learn over time. And part of that is not only time management, looking at the amount of time you're spending working as opposed to spending at home or spending, with your family members, but also incorporating even things that you may do for work into family time. One thing that I like doing and have done just on a regular basis, I have to go to conferences and do these learning sessions called continuing medical education to maintain my medical license. It's a requirement for, the states for you to continue learning, because they expect, and I expect, others as well as myself, to continue learning and growing as a professional. That's required in many other fields as well. When I go to conferences, because many of these continuing medical education credits can be offered as like a class where you travel to. And many times they'll be in some place that, your family may want to go to. I'll take my family with me. So I've gone to conferences literally all over the world and been able to take my family with me, where they stay in the hotel with me. We go out and have dinner or lunch together, spend the time, where I'll go to the conferences during the day,
and they go the other way.
Exactly. They spend that time together, and then I'll join them in the afternoon or evenings. And we're all able to not only travel together, but to spend that time together as a family, bonding. They get a chance to see other places. They're traveling and experiencing the world just like I am. And they take those memories and those experiences with them.
Awesome. That's a very good point, because a lot of times, like when you have those special events where there's graduation or there's conferences, like is the best thing to do that because sometimes parents might think like, oh no, it's expensive to take the family, but I think the memories and the learning of the family outweighs the expenses. That's a very good point. I think I'm a victim of that. I think in my graduation I only took my wife with me, and then with my child I left with my family. I think it was not a good idea. That's something that I always don't. I don't have a good memory about that. I need to definitely do better going forward. Absolutely, absolutely. And so this is only with the family and work. And what about let's say like yourself, or as your personal time? How do you address that? Because you're pulled already with family, which is almost a full time, and also the work, which is a full time, like itself. So how do you manage with, just maintaining your own personal time?
You have to learn how to shut down work sometimes.
Okay.
Um, I had to learn how to literally shut off my phone at some point because you can get called literally at all hours. You can,
right.
Have expectations depending on what you're doing.
Right.
And that's also being taken into consideration by a lot of organizations as well.
Okay. Okay.
I don't have a job now where I'm on call like I used to be,
right.
in residency and earlier on in my career.
Right.
I have set hours that I work, and then may have things that I do above and beyond those set hours. But at the
right.
same time, I've learned how to shut off the telephone, how to shut off the computer, how to shut off
right.
all these electronic devices, so that I can spend that time not only rejuvenating myself,
right,
whether it's and I love music, I love going out, and
right.
just traveling and doing various things.
Right.
So it's learning how to basically set aside a certain amount of time for yourself and for your family. That is that protected time. That this is what we're going to do. We're going to spend this time together. I'm going to spend this time, whether it's getting up and taking a walk or working out, or just just taking some time where you just completely decompress.
Right.
So that when you do go back to work, when you do start doing those things that you're responsible for again,
right,
you're better able to do them because now you've refocused, now you've refreshed your mind, now you've had a chance to regenerate your body in some form or fashion. And in doing so, now you become more effective.
Awesome, awesome. So you see that, like you see the difference now, like, since you started applying that method, because I think is, I can equate that to some people stating that you learn how to say no, like, okay, no to the phone, no to the, the paging and stuff like that, like everything else is off, like you said. So since you started that, have you noticed any, like a big difference in your productivity or, or just the time that you share with family?
Definitely. And the thing is it's developing not only a consistent routine.
Okay.
Because you don't necessarily have to spend a bunch of money. Like I mentioned, traveling and going to conferences. And yeah, that can be cost prohibitive for some people trying to take an entire family with them.
Right.
But even spending that time where I'm going to go for a walk with the kids. We're going to go outside and play.
Perfect.
We're going to go walk around the neighborhood or just go downtown and do a staycation or something where you're spending time with them and developing those relationships.
Right.
That means far more to your children than you would even fully comprehend or understand.
Absolutely.
There are times my kids have told me, I just like spending time with you. I just like hanging out with you. Wow. Sometimes it's sitting down watching a movie together or sitting there watching a sporting event together where
absolutely
we're all sharing that experience.
Right.
It builds those relationships over time so that your children not only see that you're there with them,
right,
but even if you're not physically there with them, because in some cases there are some dads who may not physically be able to be there, whether they're not with that significant other any longer, and
right,
there may be
from other
custody
states or
issues.
something.
Some, they may be serving in our armed forces and be stationed all over the world,
right,
and may not be able to physically be there with their kids, but even talking to them on the phone or doing FaceTime with them and spending time with them means so much to them because they have those moments where you're sharing yourself with them.
Right.
So I want, the dads who are listening to this to understand any time that you spend with them where you're spending it listening to them and learning from them, and they're listening to you and learning from you, and
Right.
it's a shared experience that's positive,
Right.
they take that with them, and that relationship will continue to grow.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. That's an important point, because also recently I spoke with one of the dads. He's a brother from Congo, and he had lost his dad when he was 8 years old. And when I asked him about his fondest memory, I think his fondest memory about his dad was just the time that the last dinner he spent with his dad and his brother, one of the younger siblings, was on top of the table, and they were eating. Just that moment, like you don't even have to talk, like you mentioned, just being together,
Mm-hmm.
So people, they should not disregard or think like, oh, this is not a big deal. No, it is a big deal, So thank you so much for sharing that. So like maybe we can jump into the idea, like like growing up, how much is the difference between the way your dad raised you and how you're raising your kids? Do you notice the difference, and what are you planning, let's say, to make a difference as much as like, can you speak about that?
Yeah. Well, the way I was raised, my dad spent as much time with me as possible. My father, he died when I was 7 years old.
I'm sorry.
He served our country honorably, served in the United States Navy, and basically died prematurely at the age of, I think he was 32, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry for the loss, boss.
Yeah, my mom said that he had been exposed to Agent Orange while he was serving in the armed forces. He served in Vietnam.
So I think it was the lungs, yeah?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, that whole time for me was,
Right.
A blur, but I do
Right.
remember the time that I was able to spend with him before he died.
Right.
And he would work, and he would come in sometimes in the evenings. I'd be sitting there waiting for him to come in. He'd come in, fix himself something to eat, and I'd sit there with him and just talk and ask him how his day was. And he enjoyed spending that time.
Nice.
He would sometimes take me to like White Sox games. I remember going to a White Sox game with him.
Right.
And just sitting there and just soaking up that experience with him.
Right.
He and my mom also took us to Disney World when I was, how old was I? About 3, 4, something like that. But I still remember that.
Right.
We stayed at a Disney property.
Nice.
And I remember riding the monorail and swimming in the pool down there, and just
nice.
Wonderful time. And that's an experience that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. So
right.
In raising my kids, I wanted to replicate that, where they have these experiences as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you see, like like a good example gives a good example even better. You see, so like if we start like with a poor example, then we leave our kids with really not many good choices. So this is awesome to hear, and I'm sorry about like about your dad, and but I'm sure that like you have shared like about your fondest memories, but any advice based on your experience so far with work, with just life, to dads, how can one be the best dad?
Well, the best dad has different definitions,
right,
based on the child that you have the relationship with. To me, being the best dad is just being there in whatever capacity that you need to be there, whether it's emotionally, physically, financially, relationally, spiritually, where your kids know that regardless of what that situation is with their mother, you're there. And it may not be there physically, like I mentioned before. Sometimes it may be, spending time whenever you can and talking to them on a regular basis. But also making sure that you follow through on the things that you tell your kids you're going to do. Many relationships with children and parents have been destroyed by parents making promises to their children and then not fulfilling them. And the kids over time begin to not trust that parent, or parents, if both parents are responsible for doing this. And as that trust erodes in that relationship, you can see that hardness and that callousness toward that parent developing.
Right.
I have relatives now who, in with their father or mother or both, there's a strained relationship because they didn't trust their parents, because every time they were promised something, it never happened. They
Right.
were told, I'm going to take you here, I'm going to do this, or I'll just be there. And
Right.
they didn't show up. So that main part of being a great dad or the best
Right.
dad, or however you want to define it,
Right.
is showing up when you say you're going to show up.
Right.
If you tell your kid, and for those parents who maybe sharing custody
Right.
with another parent that doesn't physically live with you,
Right.
you tell your kid, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to take you someplace and spend some time with you.
Right.
Do it,
Right.
because the child remembers that, and they will remember when you told them that you would do something and then didn't do it.
Right. Right.
And just being there, those times that my dad was there, it spoke volumes, because even though I had a short time with him,
Right.
on earth,
Mm-hmm.
to this day, he remains to be one of my greatest role models, because the time he spent, the things that he told me that, like you said, he'd be there, and
Right.
he was there.
Right.
And just developing those relationships over time, that I would consistently see him not only there spending that time, but even him in the relationship with my mother, and how he loved my mother, and they built a relationship together, and truly cared about each other. And then seeing him even with my siblings, and how he loved them and spent time with them.
Right.
And then you want to speak life over your kids. When you speak positively over your children and encourage them, you'll start seeing what you say come to pass. I speak blessings over my children every day and tell them, you're great. You're going to do great things. I
Right.
have great expectations for you. You're an awesome person.
Right.
You are just fantastic. You can do anything that you set your mind to if you're
Right.
willing to work hard and achieve it. And
Right.
they're doing it. Both of them are just honor roll students.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are excelling in various areas. My son is an athlete and has played baseball in
Right.
various leagues, and even won championships playing
Nice.
baseball. My daughter is a just phenomenal artist, has taken classes at the Art Institute in Chicago, and
Awesome. Awesome.
Paul University, and she's even done, and it's just seeing that come to fruition, because they're only going to do greater things. But you have to speak life over them. You have to speak to them and let them know they can be
Right.
successful.
Right.
Because many kids are told,
You
you
can't.
can't do this, you can't do this, you're not able to
Absolutely.
do this. They're given basically a lot of negative comments and a lot of negative thoughts that others are projecting on them.
Right.
And then you see it reflected in how they act and how they respond.
Right.
Many of our kids have never heard an encouraging word, never heard that you're special and you're loved and you're cared about and you're appreciated.
Right.
And it's reflected in how they carry themselves and how they respond to others. So
Right.
when you speak life over your kids, you start seeing their lives improve. You start seeing the fruit of the words that you speak over them. And then as you speak it over them, demonstrate it. You try and be that example for them. So the kids, when they see me, they respect me, because they understand I'm not just saying that over them. I'm demonstrating that I love them and that
Right.
they are special and that I'm there for them, and that, they can do anything, because I'm going to help them do
Right.
anything, because I expect this for them. I have great expectations for them, and
Right.
have outlined that to them repeatedly. But in those great expectations, I also understand that there'll be times that you make mistakes. There'll be times that you don't live up to my expectations fully.
Right.
That's normal. But you can continue moving forward and growing, and that's the expectation. I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I'm just expecting you to learn and to keep growing.
That's it. This is something that really parents need to take care of very seriously, because I think I've heard about, so far I can list about 2 examples. For instance, one of the artists, I believe, like was mentioning how the teachers were they were laughing at him talking about what he wants to do. And even the other day I was listening, watching the TV. And then I think there was a clip I saw where Steve Harvey was talking about one of the teachers was making fun of him, how he said that he wanted to be a TV personality.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually said every year or something he sends him a TV or something. Like this was kind of funny, but is really what people are coming across. People they meet people that give them just negative expectations, and so it's best that we can be the positive encouragers at home. Like from home. And I think this is very good. And I think this is good because also people need to balance. You have some cultural issues. For instance, I'm not going to speak for all Africans, but I think we have this thing where we do back home where we will not. Some parents will be very strict to the point where the kid cannot try something because he's worried about mom and dad. So you have those kind of parents. So I think those parents, they need to remember, listen, this is your child. You need to build a confidence in them. Tell them they can do something. And if you're being tough, put some limits. Don't be at all times just some kind of dad where kids they cannot even joke with you, or that is not cool, right?
Absolutely agree.
Yes, sir.
You want to be a disciplinarian where they understand that you mean what you say, but at the same time that they can relax around you
Right.
and be themselves, because in that they can not only trust you, but they open up to you.
Right.
They're willing to share with you things that they wouldn't necessarily share with others because they trust you.
Absolutely.
And they feel that, if they share it with you, you're not going to belittle them. You're not going to make them feel like they're stupid. You're not going to tell them, why would you even think that?
Absolutely.
Because they have that freedom to share those things with you.
Right. Unfortunate, I don't want to mention everything that my daughter tells me, but it's nice when you hear them telling you things, and because they trust you. But these are things that are critical for them and critical for us as dads or parents. We need to know these things so we can guide them. Like, oh, by the way, no, this is not good. Oh, this is okay. Or, that kind of stuff. So it's good to have that open arm kind of thing with them, where they know, but I'm cool with dad, I'm cool with mom, not just a strict guy or something, So thank you so much. I think it's been a fantastic time. The topic that you covered, I think is very important about the importance of balancing family and balancing work and balancing your own time so you can be more rejuvenated and more productive towards the family and the work again, because if you don't do that, then we have this burnout issue, which is a big elephant, So I thank you, sir. Is there anything else you want to pitch in, before we conclude?
We have to learn how to take care of ourselves while we're taking care of everybody else.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times, when you're a dad that really wants to take care of your family and you're doing everything in your power to take care of them, you also have to learn how to take care of yourself in the process, which was something I had to learn, because a lot of times I put myself on the back burner and just, like you say, over time you burn out, and then you're not able to do anything for anybody then.
Right.
So learn how to take care of yourself as well as everybody else.
Right.
And have that time not only for others, but have that time for yourself, so that once you're able to rejuvenate and regenerate, once you're able to spend that time getting ready and just refreshing yourself,
Right.
you can be far more effective in how you approach your family, your job, and all those things that you're responsible for taking care of.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Rembert. And, like me and you are friends, and there's so much going on in the world all the time. For instance, now we see the news in Memphis. This is a whole new topic. Dad Puzzle is here, and, this is your home. I'll be happy to chat with you at some point if you would like to. Maybe we can have a panel discussion to just talk about what's going on in the world now, especially here in America, and what we can do to inform our kids on how they can deal with this better, because it's not getting any better. It's just getting worse, in terms of our relationship with some of the specialty, like especially the police. So this is something that really is sad. It's sad, and it needs to be addressed at some point. So maybe we can plan something about that, or like you can have a panel discussion with some folks. Like I'll be happy to have your input on that, boss.
Oh, most definitely. Definitely let me know.
Thank you. So thank you again for tuning in to Dad Puzzles. This has been a very good talk with Dr. Ronald Rembert, and he's my friend and my mentor. And please comment, share any questions you have or thoughts, so we can improve Dad Puzzles. And we look forward to talking to you in the next episode. Thanks again. Thank you, sir, for your help, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being the guest today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Dad Puzzles. We hope you learned something from today's podcast. Please leave us a review and give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our mailing list and YouTube channel. Plus follow and like our Instagram and Facebook pages, or any social media of your choice. You can also visit dadpuzzles.com for more resources that will help ease you into your parenthood journey. Thanks again for listening to Dad Puzzles.